Okay, we're officially live. What's going on, everyone? Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. Welcome to the earnings stream. Today, we got some better companies than some of the companies we've seen this week. It was just a light earnings week last weekend and this week. But today we have Levi Strauss, still selling jeans, of course, and WD-40. Everyone knows about that product. So these two companies reporting earnings. Levi closed the regular session at $19.74, and WD-40, this is like a $200 stock. They closed the regular session at $225 and some change. So obviously WD-40, the bigger company of the two, according to stock price. But also, I was just talking before the stream started, SPY and triple Qs were selling off into close, but looks like there were some dip buyers there and got scooped up a little bit, but kind of still broke the trend. So we'll see if this starts downtrending going into tomorrow or what have you. But let's go back to Levi and WD-40. I'm going to go to the intraday chart. So, well, looking at the weekly chart, the all-time high for Levi doesn't really trade in a big range. I mean, their all-time high is a little over $30. They're sitting around just below 20 right now. They've been as low as like $9 or $10 at one point in time, but most of the volume has a low around like $12 or something like that. So not anything really crazy as far as movement goes on the bigger time frame. I mean, of course, it's 12 to 30. That's more than double, but just not, it's just not really crazy. Some of these stocks, we've seen trading for $20 and they've been at 100 something before, and stuff like that. And this is just a little more stabler, I guess. But they are, so their all-time high was a little bit above 30. WD-40, just scrolling out on the weekly chart, that's one that's kind of been all over the spectrum, but recently more so at the highs, but it's trading at $225.24. That's what it closed the regular session at. But this stock has been around for a while, so you can just kind of go back in the history here, and they were trading in the 90s and in the 80s, right? So WD-40's been around forever, but they've traded in the 300s before, so they're at 225 now. So let's see what the reaction is going to be to the earnings data. I'll kind of zoom in. I'll just go 1 minute chart for now. WD-40 did sell off into the close, but like I was saying, even the indexes were selling off into the close. So we'll see what happens. Back over to Levi. I'm going to zoom in on the 1 minute chart as well on that one. Let's see what time these companies are reporting. So Levi is supposed to report at 4:10 p.m. Eastern. About another 7 more minutes there. And their forecast EPS is 0.14. And their forecast revenue is 1.37 billion. Their anchor VWAP, a little bit below $17. Again, they closed just below 20 today, so trading above their anchored VWAP. WD-40, Earnings Whispers just says they report after the close. They're not given a time, so we'll see. Maybe it's 4:05 or 4:10 or 4:20. We'll see. But forecast EPS $1.43, and forecast revenue $625 million. Their anchored VWAP right around probably around 235-ish a share. Again, they closed in around 225 today. So let's just see what they were looking like going into the earnings, since we have a few minutes to kill here. We'll put Levi on the left, and I'll put WD-40 on the right. And it looks like I got a Fibonacci on here from back here. So I can go ahead and delete that. All right, so let me just zoom out again. Now, there is a gap on WD-40 up to like $20.50 a share that still hasn't quite been filled. I'd say probably about half the gap has been filled, but we'll see if they get a positive reaction or not. Go 1 minute chart here. And same thing with WD-40. So Levi going into the earnings had a PE ratio of 16 and an EPS of 0.88, both positive. And Levi even pays a dividend 2.6%. Free float right now at 95 million according to Webull. And let's just look at some of the financials real quick. So net income statement, are they a profitable company or not? Well, according to the income statement for the past 5 quarters, 4 out of the past 5 quarters, they have been profitable. More so the most recent 2 quarters. And Q1, they reported 140 million in positive net income. And in Q4 last year, they reported 182 million in positive net income. Of course, you got your holiday shoppers there, probably driving revenue up a little bit in Q4 of last year. And then the quarters before that, they pulled a little bit. And 5 quarters ago, they actually lost some money, Q1 of 2024. So, but nonetheless, it looks like they've been gaining traction lately. Positive net income is technically trending up from comparing the past 5 quarters. So it's pretty good. We'll see what happens with the earnings reaction. Debt to asset only 67%. And let's see how much cash and equivalents they got. Okay, so as of March 2nd of this year, they reported 574 million in cash and equivalents. So they got over $500 million, just kind of chilling there. So nice cash position for Levi. Let's go back to the candlesticks real quick. And also I'll get my other screen ready. And as soon as the data's out, I'll be able to give that to everyone. It's 4:07 p.m. So we got about 3 more minutes. And then we should get the data on Levi, EPS revenue, and maybe any guidance. And again, here's just a little graphic here I can show everyone for the forecast. So I was going over this earlier on Earnings Whispers. But again, the forecast for EPS for Levi, 0.13, and the forecast for revenue, 1.37 billion. All right, so let's see what they end up reporting and see how the stock reacts to the data. And we'll try and see if we can spot some levels after the reaction and kind of go from there. Going into the earnings, I know technical analysis doesn't really hold a lot of weight with a catalyst like earnings, but there's obviously let me put the volume profile on here real quick. Give me 1 second. There it is, VP. All right, good. You can obviously see that quite a bit of volumes come in around the $17 range there. You can see this little volume shelf kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. So that'd probably be my S1. Almost 10% maybe for the S1 on the downside. But yeah, right around like 17.50, maybe between 17 and 18, maybe call it like a $1 little zone there. That's definitely S1 for me on the daily chart. Okay. Resistance 1, we got this nice peak right here that materialized in October of last year. And that resistance was right around 21.50. So pretty easy levels on the daily chart, just kind of going into this earnings. So again, S1 17.50 and R1 resistance 1 21.50. Real easy levels if you ask me. So let's go back intraday and see what's going on. All right, it's 4:09 p.m. Let me check level 2. Wow, there's a lot of buying pressure coming in right now. Let's see if this is going to be the real move and it just doesn't do like a reverse on us. Usually those reversals will happen pretty quickly. This is the 1-minute chart, so these are 1-minute candles, and got about 30 more seconds on this candle. So far it's bullish. Got some buying coming in. So it looks like they probably got good data, at least for EPS and revenue. Let me see if I got, maybe it was released a few minutes early. Earnings Whispers said it was 4:10 p.m. Eastern. It's only 4:09, and it's already kind of catching some buyers here. So let me just look on my right, and still kind of waiting for the data to drop. Should get it any minute now, and then I'll definitely share that with everybody. All right, so far positive reaction on Levi, so it's looking good for the bulls so far. Let's see if it can hold up here. Let's see if it ends up reversing or not. We'll know here in a few minutes. All right, I just kind of want to see, yeah, what's kind of rallying a little bit going into the earnings on the daily chart. So it was trending up going into the earnings. Of course, it hit a bottom in early April, as did the overall market. That's when the 20% correction happened, right? When between February and April, most stocks are going to look like this between those months. At least stocks that are worth anything. All right, let me go back intraday. 1 minute. All right, still holding up. Still holding up here. Looks like it might be taking a little bit of a breather. There is a slight sell side imbalance on level 2 order book. Starting to balance out a little bit. Okay, buyers are starting to flood the tape again. So let's see if this makes another high. I'm going to pop a Fibonacci on here and just kind of see how far it's pulled back so far. Just go to the bottom of this green candle is fine. Up to here. Okay. So yeah, it kind of pulled back. Almost pulled back 50% of that little pump there. I'm just measuring this green candle with the top wick. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see it pulled back almost to 50% retrace on that second candle, printed red. Now it's working on a green one, and buyers are back. So that was just a short-lived pullback there. Kind of, typical healthy price action. Get a nice, rally candle like this. It's pretty common for them to pull back a little bit, take a little breather, and start winding up for the next leg up. And that's what it looks like Levi's doing right now. They just tapped the after hours high. So the initial green candle went up to 21.50, pulled back a little bit, took a little breather, and then the third green candle went right up to the penny, 21.50 again. So current after hours high, 21.50. Candle it's working on right now is testing that right now as I'm talking. And oh yeah, there's a big buy side imbalance here. So this is definitely gonna go here. Investors are impressed with the earnings data. We go to so it just made a new after hours high. Look at that. I'll wait to adjust my fib until once I see it start pulling back again a little bit. I'll just move the top of the fib up to the new after hours high, and that'll be some good levels there that we can look at. All right, cool. So I got the results, excuse me. It's still waiting on WD40. Again, earnings whispers didn't quite have an exact time. There was a little volatility with it just a few minutes ago, so I'll look to see if that data is out or not here in a second. But just want to show this graphic for everybody. And okay, so EPS came in. Again, the forecast was 0.13. They just reported 0.22. They beat earnings per share by 69%. So investors are loving that. Revenue, again, forecast 1.37 billion, and they just reported 1.44 billion. So they beat revenue by 6%. So, solid beat on revenue too. I mean, it's not double digits, but nonetheless, that they beat. The EPS was a slam dunker for them. So that's great. Beat by 69%. Also, EPS up 38% year over year. So that's nice double-digit growth on the EPS for Levi. Quarter over quarter numbers, not as good, but you got to think that's more of a shorter term view. Year over year is definitely looks good though. So yeah, double beat by Levi. So grats to the Levi Bulls. It's just looking like it's probably could stay up here. It's up 7.5%, 7.4% in after hours, a little over $1.50 a share. And so again, they closed the regular session at $19.74, and they're sitting here in after hours at $21.30. So it's looking like a grats to the Levi Bulls. Got some comments here and some additional data on Levi. Let's just take a look here. So net revenues 1.4 billion was up 6%. And let's see here, the Levi's brand was up 9% globally. And let's take a look at some other things here. All right. Direct to consumer revenues increased 11% on a reported basis. And let's look at some other stats. 9% increase. So that 11% growth on the net revenue for direct to consumer, that's based on a 9% increase in the U.S. and also a 9% increase in Europe and a 10% increase in Asia. And actually, that net revenue direct to consumer line item was on the organic basis was an increase of 9% overall. And wholesale net revenues increased 3%. Couple comments from the CEO real quick, and then I'll show everyone how to get to the Levi earnings web call, which I would think it's probably going to be around 5 p.m. Eastern. They report around 4. Usually they do the call, the webcast around 5. I'll get the link for everyone and post that so everyone knows how to get there. But a couple notes from the CEO. We delivered another strong quarter, reflecting broad-based strength across the board. Clear evidence that our strategic agenda is gaining traction. That was said by Michelle Goss, President and CEO of Levi Strauss. And she also says we're entering the second half of 2025 from a position of strength as our ambition to transform into a denim lifestyle brand and best-in-class retailer, direct-to-consumer retailer, becomes our reality. Levi's is a brand that has a rich 172-year heritage and remains a global icon. Wow, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew they were around for a long time, but 172 years? Wow, they have definitely weathered the storms and are still standing. That's impressive. The CEO, Michelle, also says, as we look ahead, Levi's has an even bolder future with a bigger legacy, and quarter by quarter, we're building it. So some strong statements from the CEO, and the stock price is definitely reflecting it. You can see it's kind of taking a little breather now, so I'm going to change my fib level. I'll keep the bottom the same, but I'm going to move the top side up to 21.75, and then yeah, we got some pretty clear levels that we can keep in mind that we can just look at from a bird's eye view here. So S1 and after hours, they're probably going to be where it bottomed out when it tried to pull back the first time. Now, of course, keep in mind 1 minute candles, so don't put a lot of weight on these levels, but just kind of the only data we got to go off of right now since the earnings was just released. But I'm seeing 20.70, right around there. Could be off a 0.01 here and there, but 20.70 area is definitely going to be S1 for me. And that's basically just the previous low that it printed after the rally candle, right? And you can see these 2 wicks. There was definitely some demand there at 20.70, which happens to be the 50% retrace level of the current after hours high. So, there's a level above it. Probably call that $21. Looks like it's working on a green candle now. So, maybe call S1 like 21, and then S2 is definitely going to be where these 2 candles wick down here around 20.70. So kind of tight levels for the support there. Of course, you got the golden ratio, 61% retrace. That's around 20.50. So kind of clean levels though, if you ask me. And then of course, resistance 1 going, for the remaining of after hours moving forward from right now, 21.75. It's the after hours high. Pretty easy. Don't try not to overcomplicate things, right? Now, we could definitely pull up the bigger time frames now that we know it's a positive reaction. And what was I saying before? Was the bigger time frame level was right around 21.50. That's right. That was my resistance 1 on the daily time frame, 21.50. So, it's kind of trading just below that right now. So we'd definitely like it to stay above 21.50 so it could take out this daily level. Resistance level that it printed back here. Looks like this was back in, let me go back here, basically the end of September of October of 2024. That's where there was a ton of sellers at 21.50 and it got rejected there when it rallied up to there. So just a level of interest I think could be important, right? And again, it's trading at 21.38 right now. So for the remainder of after hours tonight, I'd love it. I'd love to see it break above 21.50 and hold, and maybe that can turn into the new support, going into tomorrow. We'll just have to keep our eyes on it and see if it pulls back anymore. But overall, it's looking like investors are really liking the Levi earnings results. And just a couple quick finishing notes, final notes from the CFO. So we just talked about what the CEO's statements were. The CFO, and let's see, his name is Harmit Singh. So the CFO and growth officer of Levi. He says, given our strong first half, continued momentum across the business, and despite higher tariffs, right? We are raising their full year revenue and EPS expectations. All right. So they raised guidance, and they beat EPS and they beat revenue. So that's just a great recipe for a positive reaction, right? So I don't really see Levi pulling back from here. I mean, of course it could. Maybe there's some profit taking or something that we'll see. But overall, across the board, it's looking like really good results. So again, they beat EPS. They beat EPS by a lot, by the way, and they beat revenue, and they raised guidance for EPS and revenue. So sometimes they'll just raise the guidance on the EPS, or they'll just raise the guidance on the revenue. In this situation, they raised guidance for EPS and revenue. So investors are really liking what they're seeing, and of course, it's gaining some traction. And Levi is up almost 8% in after hours. It's up 7.7%, a little over $1.50 a share. So looks like we got our reaction for Levi. So I think it's safe to say congrats to the Levi Bulls, wouldn't you think? Let me just go over here, make sure I didn't miss anything on my other screen. Okay, yeah, Brecko on Discord, they did help tame the Wild West. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, they've been around for 175 years. I just didn't even know. It was 172 years. But wow, what a long time to be around as a company and a brand, right? Let me take a look at some other things, just make sure I didn't miss anything. We're going to go to WD40 right now because I would think their earnings is out. It's been quite choppy. There's really no direction going on with WD40 right now. It was pretty volatile. We had some wicks down to 222. Look at that, 222.22. It's sure a lot of twos there, but it wicked down to 222.22, and then it was just kind of choppy and a little spotty price action. It is kind of trading on low volume. It kind of trades on low volume, anyways. The average volume over the last 3 months, only 166,000. It did trade at 344,000 volume today. So I suppose you could say it's trading double what their average daily volume is. But nonetheless, overall, it trades on low volume. So that's, when that happens, you just see kind of sloppy price action, lots of little dots and little hashtag marks, or little hyphen marks, little tiny little doji looking, it's just low volume. That's the kind of price action that's what the candles look like, when it trades on low volume. And of course, this is the 1 minute chart. So if you ever want to close those gaps, just bump up the time frame a little bit, and you can see the price a little more clearly if you do that. And then of course the daily chart will look a lot cleaner. But on those really small time frames, when it runs on low volume, that's just what you get. It's just real sloppy price action. So I'll go back to the 1 minute for now. And just kind of see what happens. But yeah, they closed the regular session at $224.90. They are a little green in after hours, but again, I wouldn't really trust that because the price action is just a little sloppy right now. And it depends what the spread is between the bid and the ask on the order book. Right now, Webull showing the ask is at 231, the bid's at around 223. So there's unusually a wide spread there. I bet on some of the bigger brokers like Schwab and Fidelity is probably a little tighter than that. But Webull's showing an $8 spread between the bid and ask, and usually that's when you get like the weird candlesticks printing. One will be way down here, and then all of a sudden the next one will be way up here on the chart, and it just looks kind of funky. But anyways, back to Levi just for a second. Let me see if I can get the data to actually post on the bottom of my screen, EPS revenue. And of course, they raised guidance. So that was great results from Levi. I don't think they're going to be reversing, folks. Unless there's something, maybe the overall indexes sell off because of something geopolitical or something like that. And maybe it sells off through no fault of its own. But if it was just up to Levi, I don't think that this is probably coming back down. Beat EPS, beat revenue, and they increased guidance on EPS and revenue. So just solid all the way around. So very, very impressed with Levi right now. And they crushed the estimates, specifically the EPS. They smashed that. And actually, let me post this snippet from Wall Street Engine. Got to give credit where it's due, right? But they kind of explained it a little better here. Let's see if I can fit it all on one comment. Yeah, that's good right there. Boom. Okay, so I like this explanation better. This is from the Wall Street Engine. Levi crushed Q2 estimates with EPS of 0.22 versus 0.13 expectation and revenue of 1.4 billion, topping the 1.37 billion consensus. Fiscal year 2025, so the remainder of this year, they guided the EPS higher. And they also Wall Street Engine didn't mention the other part, but not only did they increase the guidance for the EPS, which they just guided 1.25 to 1.30 for the remainder of the year, with the estimate was only 1.23 on that. So that's how they raised the EPS guidance. But they also raised the revenue guidance too. So I just wanted to point that out. So it looks good. We'll see if Levi ends up trending higher out of this. I mean, they've already got the initial positive reaction from they were trading a little under $20 and they popped up to almost 22. And now they're sitting up here just kind of hanging out around the 25% retrace, kind of trading sideways. Maybe there's some accumulation going on right now. Maybe it's gearing up for another leg up. Of course, there could always be some profit taking, and maybe it does test some of these levels to the downside. But, again, S1, I'm going to put that at $21. And S2, I'm just going to call the golden fib, which is 20.50. So that's my S1 and S2. And then, of course, we already talked about the resistance. It's going to be that 2150 level from early October of 2024. That was really strong resistance back then. And it could be a level of interest now. I think if it can get back above that 21.50 where a bunch of sellers were hanging out last October, if it nice clean break above 21.50, I definitely could see this going to the mid 20s and maybe go from there. But just my opinion on the little bit of the technical analysis. But of course, the fundamentals and financials is just all looking positive for Levi right now. WD40. Let me see if I got anything on that, because we're not getting any movement. Again, okay, I do have WD40 earnings right here. So let's talk about it. Okay, let's just go over what the forecast was real quick. It's almost 4:30 right now, so we've been streaming for about 30 minutes. We got about 600 people tuning in between YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or X, and Kick. And then got some people hanging out in the Discord as well. But so WD40, their forecast EPS was $1.43, and they just reported $1.54. So they did beat EPS. They did beat EPS. Okay, good. The revenue, the forecast was $625 million according to Earnings Whispers. And let me see here. I just want to take a look at the now this is going to be net sales. So this isn't, now the forecast was 625 million revenue, but as far as net sales go, I was just looking at this sheet here with the line items, And it looks like, let's see here, they pulled in 156. Now this is going to be in the millions. So net sales 156 million, and yeah, so they pulled a gross profit. Now of course there's a cost of the products that were sold, but gross profit 88 million. So looking good. I mean, they definitely pull. They are a profitable company. So let's go back to the sticks here just real quick. And actually, I just wanted to check the income statement one more time. Let me go back here, income statement. And all right, cool. Yeah, look at that. So every quarter, they usually pull a net income of, let's see, it usually ranges from 15 million to 30 million. So with that said, they're definitely doing good on the positive net income front. So let's take a look at what the CEO and CFO said. I'll go back to the sticks real quick while we're going over this. But total net sales, 156.9 million. That's an increase of 1% compared to the prior year. And EPS, $1.54 compared to $1.46 in the prior year. That's an increase of 5%. Net income was 21 million, an increase of 6% from the prior year fiscal quarter. So it looks like they are in line with kind of what their range of the net income. They're kind of in the middle. So they kind of range from 15 million to 30 million, and they just and that's positive net income, so profit. And they just reported 21 million in positive net income. So they kind of fell in the middle of the range that they typically pull in for their net income. And let's couple notes here from Steve Brass, the president and CEO. It says today we reported third quarter net sales 156.9 million, a new record high for net sales in a quarter. All right. And he says that reflects a modest 1% year-over-year increase. He also said our core maintenance products grew 2% in the quarter and are up 6% year to date, aligning with our long-term growth objectives. At the same time, we've made significant progress on gross margin recovery, so that's good, reaching 56% in the third quarter, an improvement of 310 basis points over last year. We now expect to exceed our 55% long-term gross margin target for the fiscal year 2025, so the remainder of this year, and a full year ahead of schedule. So yeah, the data looks good. They're just not getting the reaction. The price, which it's not bad. If it's not getting the reaction, but it's not getting a positive reaction either. So it's just kind of flat, just neutral, really. Trading a little bit above where it closed at, but again, low volume. It's just a little spotty. But all in all, it's just kind of looking like a nothing burger as far as the price action goes. But it does look like their data they just released for the earnings are positive. So for the WD-40 bulls, yeah, it'd be nice to see it catch a bid, but at least it's not selling off and could just be a flat price action deal going on right now. So let's see what else he says. All right. While we remain mindful of external risks, we're confident in our trajectory and our ability to deliver on the measures that drive long-term value creation for our stockholders. All right. So I got some nice positive statements from the CEO, and the data I think is good. And just to kind of recap, and I'll post this on the bottom of my screen as well. They did miss the revenue estimates. All right, I want to make that clear. So yeah, revenue came in 156.9 million, but they did not beat the forecast. However, they did beat the EPS. All right. So let me just post this. So I got the LEVI data up on my screen right now, but now I'm going to post this WD-40 data for everyone. Kind of paints a clear picture of what's going on with them. Now, again, revenue was up 1% year over year. EPS was up 5% year over year. The net income was up 6% year over year, and the gross margin up 6% year over year. So I think it's good data. I mean, even though they didn't hit revenue forecasts, nonetheless, there is still growth year over year. But the stock is just not moving right now. It's literally not doing anything. So maybe investors are waiting for the earnings web call, and then maybe we'll see a move then. But right now, there's just nothing going on with WD40. However, I do think the earnings data was not bad at all. I mean, it was kind of good. So let me see if I can find the link to get everyone to the earnings web call for WD40, and then I'll get the link for Levi as well. Let's go here. All right, here we go. Let's see if they posted it. All right, so I got a link here. Let me see if I can get a shorter link, actually. That link's too long. All right, I'm just gonna move this over so everyone can see what I'm doing. I'll leave WD40's price on the right over here. So I'm gonna post a link right here and give everyone time to kind of screenshot this if they want to join the earnings call with the CEO. So that link I just posted on the bottom of my screen, that's going to take you to the earnings web call. As soon as you get to the page it takes you to, you can see right here, July 10th, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Of course, that's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern. And right here, there's just right when you get there, you click on the webcast link, and they might have you fill out like a little form with your name and email. It's okay. You're not going to get spammed or anything. They're probably just keeping track of how many people are going to join the web call. But yeah, that'll take you right to the web call. And again, it's at 5 p.m. Eastern. So in about another 20 minutes, this is going down. Like I say, the stock price hasn't had a reaction to the earnings data yet. Maybe investor, it's a $200 stock. So, it's not like some crappy stock. You would think there would be some sort of move. Let's see what the moves were on the previous earnings. Yeah, like look at the last earnings. They had looks like the day before. Maybe the earnings got leaked the day before. So it looks like they sold off on April 8th, and it looks like the earnings wasn't until April 9th. So yeah, maybe the earnings got leaked on that time, and they made a move a day before earnings on that one that moved down. And then we got this earnings here. It printed a green candle on that day, but then followed up by a red candle the next day after the candle started up here. So kind of probably gapped up and then filled the gap down there. So, as you can see, it does look like usually there is a reaction on WD40. There is a small pattern here that the reaction either comes the day before earnings or the day after earnings. So kind of interesting. We can kind of just go back in the history on these candlesticks and spot that that's kind of been going on, which is kind of unusual. You'd think that the actual stock price move would come right when the earnings data comes out, right? So a little different with this one for some reason. But let me go back intraday. I mean, it is. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, technically it's green in after hours, but again, the price action is just ugly. So anyways, I put the link to the earnings web call on the bottom of my screen. I think once the earnings web call with the upper management goes down, maybe it'll finally decide to make a move. So just keep your eyes on it. Let's see when Levi is doing their earnings call. So we go back to Levi just for a second, because they're still hanging out up here after this positive reaction. They're trading sideways, might be in some sort of a consolidation phase or accumulation phase, and we'll see what the next move's going to be. Maybe it'll come up and try to make another leg up and test the after hours high, or maybe there'll be some profit taking and it pulls back a little bit, but we'll see. But it's definitely got the interest of investors. They beat EPS, they beat revenue, and they increased guidance for EPS and revenue. So good stuff on Levi. I'm happy for them. Let's get the earnings data. Let's get the earnings web call link for Levi, and then yeah, that should probably be good for today. Give me 1 second here. Open up a new tab here to get this Levi web call link. I'm just going to go to their investor relations page, really, and we'll see if we can get that. Let me go to events calendar and see if it's there. Okay, yep, popped up right there. So let me, I got the link for Levi. I know some people are probably here for that earnings. So got the link for WD40 on the bottom of my screen right now. So hopefully everyone had a chance to screenshot that. Whoever wants to attend that web call. And I'm going to post the link for the earnings web call for Levi right now. So here we go. Okay. There. Oh, wait. I already had Levi post. No. I had WD40 posted. So this is the Levi link. Pardon me. So that link right there will take you to the Levi earnings web call. And I'll pull this over here. This is what their investor relations page looks like. Okay. And once you get there, you can just scroll down right on the home page and you can see where the web call link is right here. Okay. It's under latest events, July 10th today. And again, 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is going to be 5 p.m. Eastern. All right. And then they also have a nice little hyperlink here that says webcast. So again, you can just click on that. And they even have a PDF here with the press release with some earnings data there that you can review while you're waiting on the webcast. But yeah, just click that. And again, they might have you fill out a little form or something. It's okay. And then you'll be entered into you'll be able to get into the web call at 5 p.m. Eastern, which is in about 19 more minutes. All right. But yeah, looks like we got our reactions. Levi was a positive reaction. Again, they beat EPS, beat revenue, raised guidance, EPS and revenue. And WD40 has no reaction. So it's just flat. So again, the web call starts in 20 minutes with WD40. And we just went back in history on the chart. And it seems like the last handful of earnings, for some reason, they get their reaction either a day before or a day after earnings. So for some reason, the past few earnings, the reaction really hasn't hit when they actually release the data. So maybe we'll get the move tonight after during the web call or after the web call, or we'll see investors have the chance overnight to digest the earnings data, and then maybe there's a move that's made tomorrow. But yeah, that's really all I got for today. Again, my name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. If you're looking for a new home, definitely check us out. Some links in the description. I handle all the options trades. I do more of the advanced options trades, so I do a lot of spreads. I run a ton of the wheel strategy. Most of my trades are swings. And I basically, the majority of my trades is I'm on the selling side. So I'm a theta trader, if you will, or a credit trader. So I do lots of sell to open. And of course, we have other analysts in the group. Another one of our analysts, he mainly just swings stock. All right. So if you just trade equity, maybe you don't trade options, you just want to do stock, we got someone for you there as well. And we just got a great group of staff over here that's always willing to help out the members. So if you do end up joining, just tag me in the chat. I'll come by and say hello. Again, my name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. And until next time, I hope everyone has a good night, and I'll see you in the next video.